Have you ever stood frozen in the cereal aisle, overwhelmed by dozens of options? Or spent an hour browsing Netflix only to give up without watching anything? That paralysis isn't just you being indecisive, it's a fascinating psychological phenomenon called choice overload, or the paradox of choice. We intuitively believe that more options make us happier. But research reveals something surprising. Too many choices can actually make us miserable. Today, I'll uncover why our brains short-circuit when faced with excessive options, how marketers exploit this vulnerability, and how you can make better decisions in a world of endless choice. The paradox of choice was famously demonstrated in a study involving jam samples at a grocery store. When shoppers were offered 24 varieties of jam to taste, only 3% made a purchase. However, when the selection was limited to just 6 varieties, purchases skyrocketed to 30%. More options didn't lead to more satisfaction, they created decision paralysis. Why does this happen? Our brains weren't designed to handle the abundance of modern life. Throughout most of human history, choices were limited. You ate what you could find or hunt, wore what you could make, and lived where shelter was available. Today we face thousands of daily decisions. From the 87 shampoo options at the drugstore to the endless streaming content available at our fingertips. Each decision, no matter how small, requires mental energy. Psychologists call this cognitive load, and it's a finite resource. When we exhaust it making trivial decisions, we have less mental capacity for important ones. This is why successful people like Steve Jobs wore the same outfit daily. Eliminating unnecessary decisions preserved mental energy for meaningful choices. But the problem goes beyond just decision fatigue. More options also increase the likelihood of regret. When you choose from 2 options, you might wonder about the one you didn't pick. When choosing from 20 options, you now have 19 potential regrets. Our brains are particularly sensitive to loss, so each foregone alternative feels like something we've given up. Online shopping magnifies this effect dramatically. A physical store might offer dozens of headphones. Amazon offers thousands. Dating apps promise endless potential partners. Food delivery services list hundreds of restaurants. This abundance triggers what psychologists call maximizing behavior, the exhausting pursuit of the absolute best option rather than one that's simply good enough. Companies exploit the paradox of choice in fascinating ways. Some deliberately offer overwhelming options, knowing you'll default to familiar brands as a coping mechanism. Others strategically limit choices, but make you believe you're seeing everything available. Have you noticed how many websites now offer curated selections or personalized recommendations? They're not just being helpful, they're combating choice overload to increase purchases. Subscription services capitalize on this by promising to eliminate decision fatigue. Meal kit services like HelloFresh don't just sell convenience, they sell freedom from having to decide what's for dinner. Clothing subscription boxes like Stitch Fix promise to choose the perfect wardrobe so you don't have to. We're increasingly willing to pay others to make choices for us. The emotional impact of choice overload is significant. Studies show that people who constantly seek the best option maximizers report lower satisfaction, more regret, and higher rates of depression than those who accept good enough satisficers. Ironically, having more options often leads to less happiness with our final decision. So how can you navigate a world of overwhelming choice? First, become a strategic satisficer. For decisions that aren't truly important, set minimal criteria and choose the first option that meets them. Save your maximizing behavior for truly significant decisions like careers or relationships. Second, implement decision rules. Create personal policies that eliminate recurring decisions. For example, I always buy the same brand of toothpaste, or I only shop for clothes quarterly. These simple rules dramatically reduce decision fatigue. Third, practice limiting your options intentionally. When shopping online, filter aggressively before browsing. Better to see 10 good options than 1,000 mediocre ones. When choosing a restaurant, limit yourself to 3 potential places rather than scrolling endlessly through reviews. Fourth, set time limits for decisions. Parkinson's law states that work expands to fill the time available. Similarly, decisions expand to consume whatever time you allow them. Give yourself 5 minutes to pick a movie, not 30. You'll likely end up just as satisfied with your choice. Finally, practice gratitude for your decisions. Research shows that actively appreciating your choice after making it increases satisfaction, regardless of how many options you initially faced. The act of consciously focusing on what's good about your selection helps overcome the nagging thoughts about alternatives. Remember, in a world of endless options, the freedom to choose can become its own form of prison. Sometimes, the most liberating thing you can do is to intentionally limit your choices. The next time you feel paralyzed by too many options, try narrowing them down dramatically. You might discover that less really is more when it comes to both decisions and happiness.